Welcome to More For Me with yours truly, Kat Necole. What up, homie? What's going on? Welcome to the studio. It is an honor and a privilege to have you join me, whether or not, this is your first time or you are coming back for more. I appreciate you being here. YouTube, your favorite podcast platform, that's what's up. Either way, show some love, share with a friend. Sharing is caring after all, right? I agree. Let's see. What are we getting into this week? Um, Song just popped in my head. I haven't blessed you guys with any of my singing or rapping lately, I kind of feel like I'm neglecting you. But anyway, I'm not gonna sing today. But that Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, just popped in my head. Man, my producer inserts a little bit of that right there. I left space for him to insert that. We'll see what happens in the actual final version. But anyway, I'm stopping at the man in the mirror, looking at oneself. I talk a lot about self-reflection. It's the best reflection. Be self-aware. Who am I? Who are you? Being able to see stuff in yourself. It's great for other people to have people around you that you can trust, that are honest enough to tell you about yourself, what they see in you, and maybe how you show up. Because sometimes we don't realize how we show up. You ever intend to do something and it lands completely different? Happens to everybody. But to be self-aware. So today, I wanted to take a moment and dig into some things about me. Journey with Kat. Isn't that what we always do? Point taken. All right. Drop a few words on you, right? Follow me. Assertive. Direct. Straightforward, blunt. These are some of the words that have been utilized to describe me in the past. And I like to think I'm assertive. The funny thing is, one of my homies was like, nah, you're actually not assertive. You're aggressive. And at first I was like, who, me? Couldn't be. French took the cookies from a cookie jar. No, I was like, nah, not really. But then I started turning that thing around, and I was like, actually, I just started saying assertive about myself because it sounds softer, right? I'm actually a very aggressive person, extremely aggressive. And sometimes I can be chill, but right day, right time, right topic. Oh, I'm very aggressive in general. And it's something that I own. I'm actually pretty proud of my aggression. I believe that it was shaped in a certain manner. I'll share a little bit of that, but like over the years, it's a part of my survival and who I am and how I came to be. But I watched growing up women basically woman after woman after woman in my family, close proximity to me, especially. But I watched them navigate life without men for various reasons. Widowed, divorced, always single. Everybody's not intended to be married, but like there were very strong women and they happened to do life without a man, whatever their circumstances were. And so what I saw and witnessed as a young lady growing up, we see things and then we interpret them and we take from them what we will. So I can't say that I always took what people intended to give, but what I concluded probably wasn't what most of these women were giving off. But I definitely appreciated their strength. It looked to be independence. And I've talked about myself before that way. Strong, independent young lady. But then I also more so appreciated that I didn't need a person from the male species to get things done. Even as simple as I remember my sister struggling to open a jar of, it was either jelly or syrup, that good alga syrup that costs so much money. Pure, thick syrup. Probably still not good for you. But, and my brother, my brother was coming over to help her. And that got shut down. It's like you got to open that by yourself. And ultimately, she learned how to, she did navigate and she got that jar open, but it was such a struggle. Now, the reality of it is, a couple brothers that are strong and could probably open that jar no problem. But in that moment, what I saw and took away was like, you can figure it out and you can do it without them. Strong, independent woman. Now let's keep rolling from there, right? I've told you guys, they're three brothers. My oldest brother in particular, I think he was heavy-handed in helping shape my aggression. I bet he's going to get a kick out of this when he hears it. But he was pretty heavy-handed in shaping my my aggression. I spent a lot of time with these fellas because my sister didn't really want to hang out with me growing up or whatever, right? She wasn't into me. I wasn't her cup of tea. But my brothers were like, if you played, it was a little bit rough. Hey, you're going to be around us. Ain't nobody about to baby you. Who cares how small you are or that you're the youngest at that time? Like, no care. Like, toughen up. I remember one time, I think we may have been debating about what channel we were going to watch. And my oldest brother was very committed to ensuring that I understood my place. And I was very committed to making sure he was aware that I didn't have the place that he was trying to put me in. I lost that battle, to say the least. And they still laugh about it today. But my oldest brother, he had a good head in making sure that I was tough and that, I mean, I really learned to, stand up for myself and not to let anybody think they could just get over it, because I was small, always very small, very thin young lady. But I, in the end, like, I could hang with the boys. Let's just say that as I ramble on and laugh in my head about all these childhood memories running through about my brother pushing me around. But all that to say, I became who I needed to be in order to survive amongst my brothers, and then also in school. My second oldest brother, he used to be very proud and be like, "Who? Somebody's telling me that somebody's bothering Kat? My little sister?" He's like, "I'm not worried about that. She can take care of herself." Not even concerned. It's like, "Hey, you don't got to come to my rescue. I'll handle this." But very, very, very aggressive personality, like, get it done. And to the point where, maybe it eventually got carried away, because as you continue to journey through life, people, sometimes especially guys, will want to try you. And I was always, thanks to my oldest brother, up for the challenge to let people know I'm not to be tried, and making that clear. Translates into the workplace when you begin working with men, and then older men who, like, I can't take direction from a woman, blah, 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 blah. So overall, this aggressive personality, it did what it did, and it came in handy at times. But over the years, I've come to have a desire to see myself in general, right? Because before it just was what it was. But now it's like, hey, I really want to see myself. Who am I? I learned some hard ways, like, how do others see me? How do I show up, even though this may not how I want to present myself? And then, put that all together in a God-centered way with, hey, who has God called me to be? Am I actually like the salt and light of the world, or do I kind of bring a little cloud with me and it's a little dark and dim when I show up, right? Like, who am I? Who did God call me to be, and how am I showing up? And who do I want to become? So as I learn more about God and how I should be showing up versus how I am showing up, I am in a season of appreciating who I am, but then also understanding how, we've been here before, right? How God can redeem that thing, and use it for his glory. So one of the words I started off with in terms of how I have been described and describe myself is assertive. Now, one would say that assertive is the opposite of the aggressive person that I describe myself to be, and worked long and hard at becoming. But being able to allow myself to see myself, I was going to say convince, right? It's not really about a convincing, but once I understand God, his character, then I'm made in his image and his likeness, and then I see who I am, which is not God, then it's not a whole lot of convincing that needs to be done to realize that I am to be transformed into his image and likeness over time, right? So that transformation, that continual process. And so Now embarking upon that brave and bold journey to become 2022. That go. Your girl already started. I'm doing that pre-work. This is like conditioning for 2022. But becoming whole, like as I continue to be transformed and made into his image and likeness, that your girl's on that sliding scale, right? Moving from aggressive towards that assertiveness. At least I pray and I hope. Why do I share all of this? Because I think that sometimes when we look in the mirror, we don't necessarily like what we see or who we are. And sometimes it's before we see ourselves, what we hear from others. At least that's how it worked for me, right? I heard from other people what they saw in me and or how I showed up before I actually even began to see myself and realize that I should try to see myself. Like, is this really what happens? Like, you hear, it's like singing. Like, I hear beautiful notes coming out of my mouth. And then when you listen to the podcast, you're like, will she please stop singing, right? What I believe versus what what is being perceived, right? So sometimes it happens that you hear first and then later on you see yourself and not really being happy or pleased with what you're hearing or seeing. And sometimes it takes a bit to accept the reality or the truth. Um, Pause. There are ways that you show up and it's okay, and others don't understand it. But even in those instances, everything we face, right, good or bad, is an opportunity for us to become a better version of ourselves. So even if I show up a certain way and what people say they do not like is okay, like, hey, this is who God created me to be. There's a fine line sometimes about being able to distinguish between where people are lacking and you're right where God wanted you to be, and then where you're just still off from the mark and people are very accurate. But when you look in the mirror, when you hear about yourself and you're not pleased or delighted by what people are saying or seeing, to be able to accept what they communicate, to respect their voice, hear what they're saying, and then take that back to God so that he can do a work in you. Sometimes it's that perspective to open your mind and eyes to what they're saying so that you can hear it, receive it, and then figure out the next steps of what to do with it. Because you got to accept what is before you can become what he's called you to be. Just a little nugget, just a thought there, but a very relevant and timely point, I believe, because we should always be endeavoring to change and transform and become who God is calling us to be, not just who we feel comfortable with being or who we're used to being, right? This is what it is what I do versus do what God is asking you to and what he has called you to. So I pray that you would hear this and be challenged to evaluate, reflect upon yourself, and maybe have a trusted circle that you can ask someone. Don't ask somebody that's going to be reckless and just beat you up, right? But that someone that in love can show you a mirror and help you see yourself and how you show up, and that is even bold enough to journey with you and pray for you and with you as you try to move, as you move, not try to move, as you commit to moving in the direction of God and who he has called you to be. So sliding scale of aggression towards assertive, but yet and still on that scale and moving towards who God's called me to be. Because there's something about reaching that destination of more that God has for you. I believe that the old me, the me today, can't show up and reach that. I'm not going to hit that destination, not as this version of Kat. And so that I will continue to become transformed. Thank you, Holy Spirit, and become the better version of myself, becoming whole, who God has called me to be, and ultimately reach that destination of more that he has for me. So if you are like, yo, I'm trying to take the, what they call them, the super trains. French probably like, that's not what they call them as he listens to me talk. What's that? High speed rail. Yeah, you get on that high speed rail. There it is. You get on that high speed rail and you're trying to get there as fast as possible, quick. You're going to have to go through a transformation in that process as you become more like God, because we are created in his image and his likeness. So let us be just that. I hope this blessed you. I hope it gives you something to think about and something to work on. Not because I said so, but because God is calling you to a higher place and to more. That's it for this week, y'all. Until next week, make sure you join again. Same mode, same time, same place. And remember, God has more for me. God has more for you. Now let's get it. Take care.